Welcome to SR Lounge Critique Episode 2. This episode is all about critiquing your guys' couples portrait posing. So we're going to talk specifically about posing for anything from engagements to weddings to basically anything couples. Now this is a no-nonsense series and we're going to jump right in. And let me just say that critique, watching it, getting it, it's one of the best ways that you guys can learn. All right, so the first image that we have is from Gregory Hitchcock of Gregory Hitchcock Photography. We're going to jump in the develop module so I can do a few little markups here, and let's go ahead and shift tab. And the first thing I want to say is Greg, I like the exposure balancing that you've done here. Obviously you've added flash here from the left side and it looks nice. It has a nice balance. Your tones are all there. The thing that's off for me right now, and this is obviously going to be about posing because that's what this episode is about, is the pose and the shot that's actually captured is very unflattering. So if we look, his knee is up right now, and this makes his leg look very short, very stubby, and it's also kind of awkward looking, right? So he has one leg up and one leg down, and it also brings the knee up, which emphasizes a lot of the belly. So his belly kind of rounds off, his chest isn't up, he's looking straight down, and yes, they do have smiles on their face, but we can't really clearly see their faces or what they're necessarily doing other than just walking. In addition, when we go to her pose, her right leg is up and it's awkward again. Both of her legs are open and this creates a sort of masculine look when we really are probably going to want to go for something more feminine in an engagement photograph, at least for this specific shot and for our subject. So there's a couple things here, and if you go back to the complete posing workshop, we talk about this. Number one is when a girl walks, you want to basically show them if you want to achieve a feminine walk, that they have to walk with the heel over toe kind of overlapping, right? For the guy, we want to capture multiple shots and we want to basically get his feet on the ground with the legs separated enough that we can see both legs and have them flat on the ground. Well, like kind of stepping, right? Not with the knee up and like tromping through something. So that's my main issue. Now, if they have a problem with this, if they're struggling with this because they're trying to get through this tall grass, just have them hold still. So all they're gonna do is you're gonna say, okay, take a step. Once they lean into that step, you're gonna say, now hold and get your shots, change the way that their faces and what they're looking at and everything, and call it good. Okay, so that's my main thing here with this pose, Greg, is I want something that's a little bit more polished in terms of the pose and in terms of like a flattering shot that shows their kind of love and their relationship type thing versus just this almost looks like just documenting two people walking. All right, let's take a look at this one. So this is a really nice shot. Let's go ahead and look at who shot this. This is Kristen Cheatwood. Kristen from class. Do you remember Kristen? Yeah. She was one of our in-class studio audience participants of the Complete Business Workshop. So, thank you, Kristen, for submitting this image. Let's go ahead and go lights out again. Now, the first thing I want to say is this is a beautiful photograph. It's a very nice, delicate photograph. Honestly, it's one of those shots that I feel like the ladies kind of do very nicely. Like they think of these angles and they shoot these angles that we wouldn't, like a lot of times we wouldn't naturally think of. And it's a very important angle because it features the back of the dress. So I'm talking to Carla right now because I don't know, because I feel like it. So it's a very beautiful shot. I like what her hand is doing, but there's problems going on here, Kristen. The shot is great, the exposure is great, the post-production is great, but the pose and what's happening here does not sync up. For example, you have her in a very high energy pose where her arm is going up to the back of his neck, which would indicate that like maybe she's dancing or doing something with him or pulling him in for a kiss, but she's not. Her eyes are actually going straight off of camera, and that's awkward. Looking off camera like that is odd and it's awkward. So I would say if you're gonna put them into such a pose, you wanna have them doing something with one another. They're holding on to each other in such a way. The other thing is that her right arm, really we don't see much other than just skin on this side. And again, we talked about the eyes going off frame. Now let's go to him. Okay, his hands are in the exact same place on both her hips, which means that you kind of posed it, right? His hands are mirroring. He's doing the exact same thing on both sides, and that makes a pose feel odd and kind of, well, posed. The other thing is that he's looking directly into the camera. So for him, this is like a portrait. And for her, it's like this weird kind of moment where she's distracted by something. And that's the problem that we see here in this pose, is that it's not tying us together. It's not about them and their love. It's this kind of half portrait on his side and a candid moment on her side. So that's my critique on this. Let's go ahead and go to the next shot. This is from Bobby Brown Photography. Let's check this out, Bobby. So Bobby, this is a nice shot, nice little engagement photograph. There's some things that are going on here that I want to point out. We have the same problem going on, which again, I want you guys to go back to the complete posing workshop, because look at the hands. On both sides, the hands are doing the exact same thing. She's clasping his neck. His hands are going down right to her hips on both sides. And this creates a very posed look to the shot. It's very awkward, very unnatural. It's something that you'd expect like kind of a high school portrait photographer to do during prom. When we hold on to each other, when we hug each other, when we do those type of things, we don't mirror. Our hands are like one over the other. We do things that are different. We don't kind of hold on to somebody and just go like this, right? We don't hold on to their hips like this. We have one hand on their back and one hand lower. So when we don't set that up in such a way, it looks posed. That's what we have going on here. In addition, we got hip distance, and that creates this sense of awkwardness again. If two people are close and they're intimate, usually their hips are connected when their arms are around each other. So we need to close up the hips and bring the chest together. Lastly, actually not lastly, there's a couple more. Look at the eyes. When have you ever leaned into somebody? Maybe like Carlo, like
Yesterday.
what? You leaned into me yesterday? Mm-hmm. Either way, when we were looking at each other from that like centimeter apart distance, our eyes were closed. I don't want to look at you like, oh, you were looking at me? Yeah, that's super creepy. So when you're that close to somebody and you're touching foreheads, you don't look into each other's eyes. It's unnatural to do so. You would pull apart and then look at each other. So what we end up having with the eyes is something that's very unnatural. And the last thing that I want to mention is the hair. So I saw this episode of Peter Hurley, who said he gives everything awesomely funny names. I feel like I give things names too, but they're not as funny as his. But sprawl. He saw an image and he's like, she's got hair sprawl. I'm like, what is hair sprawl, Peter? Anyway, basically her hair is not quite together, right? What we want is for hair to be going down the back. We want it to be going in on the front, but we don't want this mixture. We have this hair bunched up down here. In reality, with this specific pose, we just want to put her hair behind her so that way we can see her profile, we can see her face, her chin, her jawline. And she has half her hair in front, half behind, and this weird strand that's going across the back. At least we don't have any going over the shoulder towards us. That's fine, but it still looks odd and whatnot. So that's the critique I'm going to give on the pose on this side, is those following things. Let's move on. By the way, have him take off his Apple Watch if he doesn't want that in the shot. You know. All right, we got another one. Oh, this is another one. It looks like Bobby's style. Bobby, you snuck two in there. You snuck two in, and we kept them. You pulled one over on us, but it ain't gonna happen again. All right. So Bobby, I like this. It's a very whimsical look, and there's a lot of things that are very cute about this. So overall, it's nice. Now, the thing that I'm gonna say here is there's certain things that are kind of like, it's not selling me. Now, let's talk specifically about just parts of the pose first. He's got both of his hands going straight to his crotch. And that feels weird because hands, arms, fingers, these are all pointers. And so all we do is we lock into like, why is his hands like so uncomfortable? Not only are they mirrored, but they're going directly into his crotch. The other thing is that look at how far her arm is out to this side. If she were to do this kissing thing, most likely that hand would be placed on his neck or his side of his face, and she would be pulling him in. Now, if you want to sell this shot, if you want this to be real, it needs to be probably a stolen moment type shot where maybe it's a portrait shot for him because he's looking at the camera, but she's going to steal a kiss. And if she's going to steal a kiss, she's going to be looking down and towards him and going for that kiss, and you get his reaction. Right now, it just feels a bit awkward, like where she's going for a kiss, but then she's looking at you. I don't. Carlo's doing it right now, and it weirds me out. It's like he wants to kiss somebody else, but he's thinking of me. We don't want that, Bobby. No, no, no. So that's my main thing on the posing on this side. Let's go ahead and jump to the next image. Oh, I love this one. This is Jesse Jackson, Jesse and Dallin. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous shot. Let's talk about this. Okay. There are tons of things going right in this shot. So, one, look at the embrace. This is a perfect example of not mirroring. If someone's going to hug and they're going to kind of embrace from behind and it's going to look natural, their hands and positioning, they're going to be doing different things. So here you have one arm that's going down. Here you have one arm that's embracing or going across. You have just enough width here that you can see him and his jacket. I'm looking for the word jacket right there, his chest. Okay. You've got her looking down and towards his side and him looking down and towards her. Somebody's been watching the Complete Posing Workshop because we've used our eye lines to draw into one another. You've got them expressing an emotion that ties into the photograph itself, which means you probably directed and cued it. You said to do something. You said whatever it might be to get that emotion to sync up. Notice that her hands aren't embracing his arm in the same place. Now, the only small thing that I would mention is when they do embrace, you might, like, you're not going to stop them from this, right? Because this is a beautifully natural moment that you've happened to capture, and that's great. When you're showing them this pose, though, you might demonstrate that you don't want their fingers to be bent inwards like this, because it creates a kind of like, almost like a broken finger kind of look to it. So that's more so in the beginning of setting it up, not so in the moment, because in the moment you don't want to ruin it. And that's not, it's something so small that isn't going to really take away from the photograph itself. This is a gorgeous shot. The last thing that I'm going to mention is you're at this in-between crop right now. So you're cropping, based on this pose, you're cropping at the hip, which basically is the place where they're kind of, well, it's not only a joint, but that's where they're also widening out. So we're not going to get the most flattering shot. And the action is all about this area, right? So look at this. You'd have a much stronger image if you pulled this in and brought this right to there. Now look at that shot. That shot brings you right into the action. It's all about them. Either that or you go wider, right? You go wider to show the hips and you crop at the thigh, but not over the joint because it's a little bit unflattering for the pose that they're in. So, wonderful shot. Looks beautiful. Great work. Let's go ahead and go on. Jesse, you snuck two in there too. Man, we got to be a little more. We're just gonna, Carla. We're gonna crack the whip on the next one. You know what I mean? Okay, let's talk about this. Jesse, we'll take it this time. Is Jesse a girl or a guy? It's IE. It could be either. It could be either, actually. Yeah. First thing that I'm noticing is that there's something in his pockets. Empty the pockets. So he's got some sort of square on that side, which is very noticeable because it's an unnatural shape. So Bobby, again, there's a lot of things that are going really great with this. I love the composition. Look at this. I'm thinking that you did this intentionally. If you did, kudos. Because look at this leading line of this tree line that goes directly into them. Isn't that beautiful, Carlo? He's just got his hairs over. Like, I don't even know what he's doing right now. It's ridiculous. There are some things that aren't working for you, though. So, one, we can't see his left arm. So it makes it look like he only has one arm. But we do see both legs. They're in step. And it's cute. The only thing is that her legs are separated on this side. So where's my pen? So the feet are wide apart. Now, usually what we would do is when they take a step, you'd have them drag the other foot as if the foot's coming up and about to take a step. So that way you catch the hips kind of close to one another. The thing that's nice about this is she is looking back towards him, but she could do the same thing, and you'd end up with kind of a more flattering shot that has some curvature in the hips, and it doesn't have the legs like kind of splayed open. But that's not the big thing for me. The big thing for me is that his hand right here, well, you only see one of them, which we talked about, but this is like a handshake, right? So it looks as if their expressions matching up with the type of handshake that they're doing is very much like, nice to meet you, for the first time. And that's the sense that I get from this, is that it's like this awkward meeting each other first time and they're laughing about it kind of moment. So what I would do is usually when she's leading the way or when he's leading the way, they're going to do something a little more soft with that embrace. It's not the clasping of like, just met each other. It's something more like this, where they're kind of like touching, holding fingers, something like this. It's something more delicate. And that's what I would do with that, is make it something more delicate. Also, show his other arm. You can have it outside and just hanging a little bit behind him, but allow it to be seen. Okay, keep one thing in mind. It doesn't make or break anything, but when we do see, again, I lost my freaking, there it is. Okay, when we do see the arm coming up and in like this, it's going to draw attention because it's a pose that has a lot of energy to it, right? Why is her arm up? We're going to look directly to it. Why is her wrist crooked in? Why does it look odd? Why are her fingers tucked in? Is she grabbing something? So it's going to draw a lot of attention in that way. I do love their expressions, and I think they're going to love this photograph regardless. I just want to give you those thoughts and ideas so that you understand why the pose looks and feels a certain way. It's all about body language. Something I love. That sounds really creepy. I love body language. I love body language. Bobby Brown, you snuck 3 in? We already picked it, so people are going to be upset. Why did Bobby's get picked 3 times and not ours? Because we didn't check. Sorry. We'll do better next time. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this. So Bobby, it's a nice shot. There's a couple things going on with the pose that I do want to talk about. Let me make sure that this is as big as it'll get size-wise. Okay. So there's a lot of things going on that are really nice. Now, I would say, like, from the background standpoint, if you could frame them right where these, like right inside of this area here, you'd have a nice natural frame in the shot. But that's not pose, that's really more framing and composition. From a posing standpoint, I have this nice natural smile and expression on him, but she ain't having it. She's got something going on, and what has she got going on, Carlo? It's something, right? He did something to piss her off. Like, it's not good. So her expression doesn't match his, and that creates a sense of like, well, they're not really in sync with one another. The next thing is that his head is slightly tilted towards hers, but hers is going straight up. And that again makes it feel a little bit awkward because we really want their heads tilting in towards each other as a sign of intimacy. Now, you've done a nice job with the V up on this side, so he's holding around her hip, but the only issue here is that without any space between her arm and her chest, it looks like the chest is going from here to here, okay? Instead, the chest is here. Now, the rules for posing applies for everybody. We always want to show space. We want to see curves. That's what's going to make somebody look feminine and have that kind of nice shape to the body. When the arm is right against the side, it does neither of those things. It just looks like the chest is a block. So what needs to happen here is she can place the arm slightly behind the back. She can pull the dress up and out a little bit like as if she were walking, but she wouldn't usually look into the camera when she was doing that unless it was like a kind of a stolen moment type thing. But there needs to be some reason. Well, there needs to be a reason why she's grasping her dress one, and we don't see her actually holding it. But what I need here is I need some space in the arm. I need to see the curves of the hip. I need to see where the chest ends. Show me a little bit of background through that so that it's a much more flattering image. Okay. So those are the things that I would do on that shot. Also, ideally, don't put like the grass like directly in front of them. Just a thought. Nick Hilton of Nick Hilton Photography. This is a gorgeous image. Okay. Let's take a look-see. Now, I want to say that there's a lot of things that I really love about this shot, Nick. The lighting is beautiful, the post-production is beautiful, and it's a fantastic and worthwhile shot to deliver your clients. They're going to absolutely love this. There's a few things here, though, that are, I just want you to understand what's happening, basically. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's just I want you to understand what's happening. I like the way that her hand is going up and onto his shoulder. That looks nice. Now, keep in mind that he is mirroring because both hands are going in the same place. So it makes it feel a little bit more posed for his side. I would love to see one hand, like, look at this. If this, again, I can't tell where I'm drawing. Okay, if this hand were on the small of her back and then this hand, well, one hand was a little bit higher, one hand is a little bit lower, it would look a lot better, right? I like the arm on the other side. If we see the elbow like that, it might look like it's cut off if the elbow is bent in such a way. So just keep in mind that as long as his hand is covering it, you're fine. But if it's not covering it, then we'll have an issue. It'll look like the arm is kind of cut off. And that's when you want to relax the arm down, or you want to kind of not show it necessarily. Okay. But there's another interesting thing that's happening here. When we shoot top down on somebody, that's something that's going to basically emasculate or make somebody look a little more soft, more feminine when we shoot top down angles on the face, right? What's happening here is essentially a top down angle on his face. When he looks down and away and she looks into him and she's kind of grasping his shoulder and kind of doing those things, it almost is a role reversal where it softens him and it strengthens her. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just want you to understand the effect that it's having on the image. And what we end up having is an image where he looks kind of very soft, like not very masculine, basically, in the shot. A lot of guys aren't going to have an issue with that. Some guys are. It's not a big deal. I just want you to understand what's happening with the shot. If I were to do this, I might bring his chin up. So bring the chin up so that we define the jawline, and it's not necessarily like we're shooting down on his face. That'll strengthen his face and strengthen his jawline. The next thing is, if you're going to have him doing that, have him look into the camera and have her do like a little teasing, kind of like getting him to laugh or getting him to emote or doing something like that. That'll kind of give him that chiseled jawline, the masculinity back in the shot. Versus right now, it's almost like I would have done the opposite. I would have had her do what he's doing and him do what she's doing. That makes sense? Carlo, does that make sense? Okay. I like that the crop is right below the thigh, by the way, because that's really nice. It shows the taper points coming in. You could go a little bit lower just to show the legs coming in more. It's going to look a little more flattering. All right. Greg Hitchcock. Oh, man. We did not so good, Colin. We'll do better next time. To these guys, good job. Okay. So, Greg, we got that same kissing issue going on. Once again, I noticed that, like, the exposure to the background, you do a really nice job balancing your flash. It looks good. The issue and the reason that it's going to look not as interesting is, again, we don't have direction of light. Now, this is what I can guess you're probably going to think, right? This is how you set up your light, because I can see that there is indeed direction to the light. The light's actually coming from this side, okay? It's the pose that's eliminating the direction. Because what you have here is you have the couples that are placed here. You have the camera right here, and you're lighting like this into them. But their faces are not actually towards the camera. Their faces are actually set more like this. So when you're lighting them, you're lighting directly into them, and that's what makes it look like flat lighting. In reality, it's not. It's directional. So lighting direction to the pose is off. But we're talking about pose. I almost thought we're talking about lighting right now. Why did I just like lost? For a moment, I just zoned out, okay? So the next thing I'm going to say is the pose is just awkward. There's a lot of things going on that are making it so. One, he's doing this reach across thing with his hand, right? That is a very, it's a position that is doing several things. One, it's emphasizing the belly and where it meets the waist. Two, it emphasizes literally everything he has in his pockets, and he has a lot in his pockets. Look at this. He's got his wallet over here. Looks like he's got a phone and some keys over here. I mean, this dude's like going to Best Buy to buy a TV after this shoot, right? He's got a lot of stuff that he needs to get done. You need to have him clear out his pockets so that you don't get awkward shapes in there. Not reaching across and leaning across like that. Look at the knuckles. This is a very gorilla type thing to do. Like a gorilla will actually walk with their knuckles, right? So it's a very odd and awkward thing to be doing on his fingers. It makes him look like not only are his fingers cut off, but it's like very kind of caveman-esque. Next, the pose with the face going off to the side. We have no facial features and an undefined jawline, right? So these are all the things going on, including a rounded back. There's a lot of stuff happening. Her pose is actually not too bad. I would definitely have her either pull the hair to the front or to the back, but not over the left side of the shoulder. Right now, that's kind of a little bit odd like that. Pull this strand of hair back a little bit, fix the flyaway up here. That would be great. Bring their hands into a place that's more neutral. Her knee is right here. Why not have his hand on her knee and kind of bring them back into positions that are a little bit nicer? Then the black of her pants and her feet are getting lost, okay? So this is one of those cases where the background and where they're placed and all these things going on. See how there's this black right here? There's also darkness over here. It makes it so we lose detail on her legs and we can't really see what's happening. So from a posing standpoint, I wouldn't place her against things that are so dark because it really makes it difficult to see the shape of her body and her legs. The only other thing I'm going to say is the kiss. Kiss, and we need to be able to see their faces, guys. All right. Thanks, Greg, for submitting. This is from Vaughn Berry of Vaughn Berry Photography. I love this. This is cute. Now, this is a wonderful shot. Very whimsical, beautiful. And let's talk about why it works. When we're trying to pull off something whimsical and fun and in the moment, we need everything to kind of be, even if it's set up, it needs to be set up to be perfectly imperfect, if that makes sense. So we have one shoe that's down on the ground right here. That's a hilarious little item. We have one shoe right here. Now, my first note is that I would love to see his other foot. Like, where is the other foot? It's hidden, right? So it makes it look like she's making out with a one-legged man, which is totally fine if he's truly one-legged. But we know he's not because there's a shoe here. It doesn't take like Sherlock Holmes to figure that out. You know what I mean? But the other thing that's working for this is that her legs are doing different things, and you've also made it so that her toes are pointed, or she did that naturally, right? So the toes pointed is going to elongate the legs, and it's going to kind of create nice, flattering calf muscles as the legs are kind of pointed straight out. One leg is going up straight, and one leg is going out. And the way that you've cropped it, and the way that the legs and everything is doing something a little bit different, that's what gives it that whimsical feel. It's a beautiful storytelling image, kind of in the moment, and it's fun, and that's what's making it work. My only thought here is really, I just want to see his other leg. I want to see that other foot. I also think that this is a little bit of a distraction, like this base right here. I think it probably looks like you were covering something with a jacket. And what you could do instead, and you'd get something that's really nice too, is adjust your crop. So watch this. If I just take this into, instead of doing a, let's see if it'll let me do it without. I have to kick out. Okay. I was trying to get it to flip to a portrait aspect. Okay, let's go lights on. So what I want you to do is I'm just going to unlock the aspect ratio. And okay. I want you to think something more along the lines of this. Right? Because we don't need the other stuff. You have this beautiful storytelling image right here. And if you want to incorporate the jacket, great. I love the jacket. I just don't like this bottom stand thing here. So if you can't figure out a way to incorporate that, then keep in mind that you have another perfect shot like right here. And it could be a square crop, it could be a portrait crop, it could be anything. So just a few thoughts for you guys. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Critique, and as always, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, comment below, let us know what you guys would like to see in the future, and turn on your notifications so that you actually see those videos that we're posting in the future. Now, if you're a premium member and you'd like to submit to the next episode, jump into the Facebook group under SR Lounge Premium. If you're not a premium member, I would highly recommend that you guys check it out. I know there's a lot of education out there, but there's nothing like this. What we've created on SR Lounge and inside of Premium is literally the operating manual for creating a multi-million-dollar photography studio from the ground up. Everything you need, from learning the camera to lighting to weddings to business, all of it. There's nothing like it out there. So give it a look. You guys can check it out in the article that we'll link to this video. And that's really it. That is it. You got anything else, Carlo? Nope. All right. I'll see you guys in the next episode.